Okay.
3, 2, 1.
For the magazine of Time BNI, we are here today with the founder of this incredible international legacy, Dr. Ivan Misner. Dr. Misner, thank you for taking the time to be here with us and share your thoughts.
My pleasure. This is what I do for a living. I'm happy to do it.
So we're here in Honolulu, surrounded by this incredible energy of thousands of people and members of BNI. And they're from all over the world, celebrating BNI's 48th birthday.
Yeah.
So the first question is, looking at this global audience, what emotions do you feel opening the venue, and what have you felt yesterday?
You know, at this point, I am humbled by what BNI has become. I mean, more than 11,200 groups, over 322,000 members, over 75 countries. It's humbling to see what this little idea, you know, this whole thing where an acorn becomes an oak tree. BNI was an acorn when I started it. My idea was to help some of my friends, and hopefully they would help me. And it's now become this global movement in effect, and it's very humbling.
So, in fact, the anticipated second question, Joe, during this 4 decades, I think you've faced and overcome many challenges.
Yeah.
The first one maybe was to overcome your issue 40 years ago, and that's why BNI has come to us. Could you share how the concept of overcoming, so to go over, has shaped both BNI's philosophy and your life?
So I think a lot of people will look at someone who's successful and they'll say, oh, you know, they're successful. Maybe they didn't have a lot of challenges, or maybe they didn't have failures. Oh, they couldn't be more wrong. I have had so many failures and so many things not work along the way. But I've always had one overlying philosophy, and that is that your failures should be your tuition for success. That it's okay to fail, but when you fail, you want to use that as a learning lesson. And throughout most of my life, and I would tell people that are watching this or reading this, that they should understand that everybody has failures, and that they shouldn't define themselves by their failures. They should define themselves by their successes and move forward. So I had lots of failures along the way, starting with creating the system that we have now, because I was trying to figure it out back then. There weren't really organizations quite like it. And then we decided to franchise, and I had to figure that out. And then we became international, and I was concerned, will this work in other countries? And then, you know, we had an online platform that was incredibly complicated. And then COVID hit. And so one of the things I tell people is always hold the vision, not the obstacles. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be an obstacle, no matter what business you're in. Just always hold the vision, and you can get to where you want to go.
Yes. May I ask you, what was your worst mistake in BNI?
The biggest mistake I made, I actually wrote about it in a book called The Third Paradigm. The first paradigm is about cooperation. The second paradigm is about, the first paradigm is about competition. The second paradigm is about cooperation. And the third paradigm is about co-creation, which is like crowdsourcing. And the biggest mistake I made was what is now BNI Connect, the online platform. And I started with competition, letting people compete to see, you know, if cream would rise to the top. And what happened was silos were created, where everybody, you know, was like, no, come to my system is better. No, come to my system, And so it just became competitive. So then I tried to get everyone to cooperate, and that didn't work out. And finally, it was a matter of co-creation, where I said, okay, we're going to create this together, and we're going to do something different and new. It's not going to be what existed before. And it was a massive, massive challenge. And I talk about it in the book, but here's a secret, okay? It's a secret. It's not in the book. We talk about a true story in the book, and it's interwoven. The story is interwoven into every chapter of the book. And we talk about Richard and this online platform. And we never say it in the book, but Richard is my middle name. And the online platform is BNI Connect. And so if anyone ever picks up that book and reads it, Richard, I'm Richard. And so you want to see the biggest, you want to really read about the biggest challenge I ever had, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you. Sharing. It's not easy to share mistakes and failures, but...
I think unsuccessful people would say it's not easy to share their mistakes because they tend to define themselves by their mistakes. But I think you'll find that most successful, not all, some have this self-aggrandizing sense, but most successful people that I've met have no problem sharing the mistakes they made because they want other people to be successful. And if they want other people to be successful, then it's important that other people know, hey, look, I messed up too.
So you've talked about co-creations, working together in some ways. And yesterday you opened talking about the energy.
Yeah.
We skate together. So the more energy. How this energy is tangibly translates into results for the BNI members.
So the exercise that you were talking about yesterday was not a magic trick. It was physics, and we often talk about in a room there is an energy. There's a sense of energy with the people. It could be negative. It could be positive. One of the things that we've seen in BNI is that the larger the groups, the more excited they get, the more energy there is. And so we talk about energy in this sort of metaphorical way. But it's not metaphorical. It is literally physical. And the exercise that I did yesterday that you saw involved a physics, a piece of equipment. And we all stood in a circle and we all held hands. And then I handed this stick to one other person. And when he grabbed it, it lit up. And it was like, woot, 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 and made sound. And it was literally the energy from our hands, our bodies, that was lighting up this physics stick. Yeah, it was amazing, right? And when one of us let go, it stopped. And if you remember, I touched the forehead of Dana, my assistant, and it lit up again, just a finger. So energy is not metaphorical. It is literally physical. And if you have the right energy in the room with the right people, it feels magical.
Yes, it is. It is. So let's talk about one of your new challenges. So at this global convention, you launched an ambitious challenge, raising 1 million for the BNI Foundation.
Yes.
So would you talk about it?
Yeah. See, when my late wife and I created the BNI Foundation, we decided to have it focus on children and education. Many of the projects that we did personally involved children's programs or educational programs. And we like to say, and she came up with the phrase first, children represent 20% of the population, but they're 100% of our future. And so if we help children just make something a little bit easier, then they can move on and they can change the world. But we gotta help children. That's what we felt, and so we've given millions of dollars away in the BNI Foundation. What we're trying to do is create an endowment. Mm-hmm. An endowment is a fund, and from that fund, the interest from that fund pays for new activities. And so we're really close. I'll announce it tomorrow, but we're probably somewhere around $850,000 to $900,000 of our goal to 1 million. And my wife, I just got married less than a year ago, and I are doing a dollar for dollar match. So we hope to be able to hit the $1 million mark at the convention or soon after.
Right, great.
Yes.
So you talked about children. What message would you share with your nephews today to help them become happy and fulfilled individuals in 20 years from now?
Well, sometimes I have children ask me what exactly is networking, and I say to them, do you have some close friends? And they say yes. And I say, why are they close friends? And they'll say, well, because they're nice to me, they're good to me, I'm good to them, we do things together, we build a relationship, and that's what networking is. Except the difference is that rather than just friendship, it's with the purpose of not only being friends, but doing business together. And one of the things that we learned early on in BNI is that one of the strengths of a really good network is that most of the members are friends. One of the weaknesses of a network is that most of the members are friends. And friends don't like to hold friends accountable, but a really good friend will do so gently. And that's what we try to do in BNI. One of our core values is accountability. And we're not a friendship organization. There are social groups out there that we're not one. We're a business organization that develops friendships. That's kind of what I would say. That first part's what I would say to children, yeah.
Also, just last couple of questions to local members, because we are a local community. So based on your experience with BNI chapters worldwide, what advice would you give to our region members to maximize the value of BNI membership?
Yeah, well, there's 4 things that I would recommend, and the way you worded the question is great, because what people will often say to me is, what's the one thing? Mm-hmm. What's the one thing to do? And the answer to that is, there is no one thing. There's never one thing. In almost, it's like creating a great meal. If you just have one ingredient, it's not that great, right? You got to add things to it to make it work. So it's a recipe, and there's 4 things that I would recommend to someone who really wants to build a powerful personal network. The first is you have to have a certain quantity of people that are in your network. If your network is 5 people, it's not enough. You got to get out there. You got to connect. Networking is a contact sport. You've got to go out and connect with other people. But the second thing is quality. So quantity is 1, quality is 2, but it's not, I wouldn't rank order it as 2. It's probably the most important is quality. But here's the thing. If your network is a mile wide, that is, you have a lot of people, but it's only an inch deep, it'll never be very successful. So you need a network that is both wide and in places deep, meaning you've really built a relationship with some of these people. And I think one of the things that I don't know if they have this expression in Italian, it's not what you know, it's who you know. No. You ever heard that? Okay, it's an American expression. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I say it's neither one. It's not what you know or who you know, it's how well you know each other that really counts. Because, I've got some great contacts in my phone, okay? But the question is, could I call one of them, and would they take my call? And if I asked them for a favor, would they say yes? So it's not just who you know, it's how well you know each other. That's the second. The third is engagement. Mm-hmm. You got to be engaged. You got to be really involved in the program. That's why lifelong learning is one of our core values. And by engagement, that means you got to do one-to-ones with other individuals. As a matter of fact, there was a research study that was done in Italy about one-to-ones. It was in a region in Italy, and it was about one-to-ones. And it was, I think, a master's thesis. And they took a look at people who did only one-to-one a month and compared it to people who did 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So the people who did 4 one-to-ones, a one-to-one being you and I sitting together and, tell me about your business. I tell, for those who don't know, because you're a BNI member, but for those who don't know, it's about sharing each other and maybe sharing contacts and connections. And so the people who do 4 one-to-ones a month compared to the people who did only one-to-one a month, they gave twice as many referrals to the group, to their network. Twice as many, 100% more. But here's the amazing thing. They received twice as many referrals. 100% more referrals. And that was based on a study that was actually done in Italy. And so when I go to networking groups, I say, how would you like to double the number of your referrals? Everybody says yes. I say, okay, do one-to-one a week, not 1 a month. And you're going to double. And that's an example of engagement. So you got to do those things. You got to get training. You got to go through the like we have an online platform on education. You got to do those kinds of things. And the fourth is storytelling. You got to be able to tell your experience in a way that is interesting to people. And a great story is a fact wrapped in an emotion that compels people to take action that transforms them in some way. Those are the 4 pieces of a great story. And so if you do those 4 things, you're going to build a powerful personal network.
A lot of value, thank you.
Yeah.
The very last question, as we conclude, what message would you like to share with our local members about their role in building a strengthening BNI global community? Because, with small groups, sometimes we forget we're a global community.
We are a global community, and one of the ways, there's 2 really big ways that you can recognize that BNI is a global community. One is come to international conventions like this, because they're amazing. It's just amazing, right? I go to the convention, and the opening of the convention, everybody's bringing in the flags from all of the countries. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like, I come to the convention, and it's like going to a United Nations event where all the countries love each other. I mean, that's incredible. But the second thing is BNI Connect, the online platform. You can connect with people anywhere in the world through BNI Connect, as long as you don't try and sell to them. But you just say, hey, I'm looking to do business in there, or I'm coming to visit Italy. I'd love to visit your chapter. There's almost no network in the world that you could connect with somebody in more than 75 countries and say, hey, I'm going to visit. Can I come visit your chapter and can I be part of it, because I'd like to do some business there. And people, certainly in BNI, they roll out the red carpet. Yes, you're more than welcome to come. So those are 2 things to do. I think it's really important to understand, and I'm going to mix metaphors here. Networking is more about farming than it is about hunting, right? It's about cultivating relationships with people. And here's the mixed metaphor. And in particular, anyone who really wants to build a network has to understand this, that networking is a marathon, not a sprint. And people will join a network, and they run, and they do a few things, and they don't get any results, and they go, okay, I'm gonna go to another network, and they run, and they don't get any results, and they go to another network, and they keep sprinting to the networking's a marathon. It's a long-term process, but what a great way to build your business. I mean, it's such a fantastic. I used to teach people how to cold call. I hated it. It works, but I hated it. And now I teach people how to build their business through referrals, and I love it. And I think our members love building business through referrals.
Thank you, Dr. Misner.
Thank you. Great question.
It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Good.